yeah, so there were all these rules, and then I realized afterwards that like a lot of these rules didn't have much meaning. And for example, and these are just like little things, you had to leave like a message before you were able to go to the toilet, and this was even in free time. And you were constantly being watched over when you were in the practice room, so you didn't have much freedom at all. I also actually remember, this is kind of weird, but I remember having to take pictures of what I ate before I was actually able to consume it, and I had to send them pictures to our manager, and she would have to check it. Anyway, there were lots of like little things, and the reason that we had to follow all these rules, this is how I felt, the reason that we had to follow all these rules was because otherwise we felt like we weren't going to be able to debut. We felt that they were just going to cut us if we didn't obey all these rules. Okay, and this, of course, like very much changed when I met Minijin Nim. I remember her being like also extremely shocked when she heard about our life as a trainee. It was because of that time, definitely that time as a trainee, that I spent in such a confined environment that I slowly grew ignorant of my emotions. I don't know how I went through that at that time. It's just like looking back now, I could never go through that again.
I've been hearing a lot of buzz lately about a group they're calling the new face of global pop. I was curious, so I looked into them. They were formed through a survival show that narrowed down 20 contestants, and those contestants were picked from an incredible 120,000 applicants. They were trained under what people say is the world's most rigorous star-making system, and are backed by HYBE, one of K-pop's biggest companies. When I look at their journey, it seems like a dream come true. People are saying they've already landed hit songs, Grammy nominations, and are fresh off a North American tour. The group I'm talking about is KATSEYE, and I have to admit, they might just be the future. But as I was looking into their story, I started wondering, what if that dream is really a gilded cage? What's the real price for this kind of superstardom? While the spotlight shows us all the glamour, I've learned that behind the scenes lies a complex and pretty controversial contract system that has defined K-pop for decades. I found out this is way more than just a simple record deal. It's what the industry calls a 360 deal, an all-encompassing agreement that I've seen compared to modern-day indentured servitude. It's the dark side of an industry that sells dreams, but, as I've discovered, can sometimes create nightmares. Today, I don't just want to talk about KATSEYE. I want to talk about a system. I'm going to pull back the curtain on the formula, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it really takes to become a star in HYBE's global empire. To really get what might be ahead for KATSEYE, I first had to understand the foundation of the K-pop industry, the infamous 360 deal. The name really says it all. The contract covers all 360 degrees of an artist's career. From what I can tell, unlike a typical Western record deal that's focused on music, a 360 deal gives the company a slice of everything. I'm talking album sales, sure, but also touring, merchandise, brand deals, TV appearances, and even songwriting royalties. So I asked myself, why do these deals even exist? Well, I read that labels argue they're a necessary evil. They pour huge amounts of money into trainees for years before they ever debut, covering housing, food, vocal lessons, dance training, you name it. I can see how a company like HYBE can spend millions on a group before earning a single dollar. From their perspective, it's a massive gamble, and the 360 deal is how they try to make sure they get a return on that investment. For the artist, though, I can only imagine the cost is steep. They often have little control over their own image, schedule, or creative work. I even read that some contracts include clauses that give the company ownership of an artist's intellectual property, including their stage name. This level of control, combined with long contract durations, has led critics and artists to call them slave contracts. And this isn't a new controversy. As I looked into it, I found the history of K-pop is littered with lawsuits from idols fighting these restrictive terms. Back in 2009, 3 members of the legendary group TVXQ sued SM Entertainment over their 13-year contracts, which the court found to be unfair. That case was a landmark, and it led to a new rule from Korea's Fair Trade Commission that limited contract lengths to 7 years. Yet, I found the disputes continue. The members of BAP sued their agency in 2014, claiming severe mistreatment and unfair profit distribution. More recently, in 2022, I saw that members of the girl group Luna filed injunctions to suspend their contracts over similar issues. These legal battles, whether they win or lose, keep revealing a system that I feel puts profits far ahead of the artists themselves. This system seems so deeply embedded in the industry, and it makes me wonder, is it even possible to launch a global pop group without this much control? I'd love to know what you think in the comments. Is this just the cost of doing business, or is it fundamentally exploitative? To understand the road ahead for KATSEYE, I figured I had to look at how HYBE handles disputes in its own house. And I don't think there's a bigger or more recent example than the explosive conflict I saw between HYBE's subsidiary label Adore and their blockbuster girl group NewJeans. From what I could piece together, the fight went public in 2024 when HYBE accused Adore's then CEO Min Hee-jin of trying to take the label independent. What I saw next was a messy public war. NewJeans, who were creatively shaped by Min Hee-jin, sided with her, and I remember they eventually announced their intent to leave Adore and the HYBE system after alleging mistreatment. The situation turned into what looked like a legal nightmare. I read that Adore filed for an injunction to stop the group's independent activities, which a court granted. Then, in October 2025, the Seoul Central District Court ruled that the members' exclusive contracts with Adore were valid and binding, reportedly until 2029. It seemed like a huge blow to the group's fight for freedom, and it showed me how hard it is to break a K-pop contract. The fallout was catastrophic. In a move that I saw shock the industry in late December 2025, Adore announced it had terminated the contract of member Danielle Marsh. Days later, the company filed a massive lawsuit against Danielle, one of her family members, and former CEO Min Hee-jin, seeking approximately $30 million in damages for breach of contract and other disruptions. I've heard that while some members have since returned to the agency, the conflict fractured the group. To me, the NewJeans saga is a terrifying cautionary tale. It proves that even for one of the biggest groups in the world, the contract is king. Challenging the system can trigger career-ending legal battles and staggering financial penalties. I even saw a wild social media campaign where fans were asking the billionaire YouTuber Mr. Beast to buy HYBE just to save Danielle, a sign of the desperation they felt against a corporate giant. This is the precedent that exists in the very house that built KATSEYE. But as I was researching all of this, I realized it's not just about lawsuits and money. There's a much darker human cost to the K-pop machine. I learned the industry is notorious for the immense mental and physical toll it takes on its idols, in a country that I know already has one of the highest suicide rates in the developed world. The pressure to be perfect is relentless. Grueling schedules, constant public scrutiny, and extreme diets seem to be the norm. I've seen many artists bravely speak out. I remember reading that Sunmi, formerly of the Wonder Girls, revealed her diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, which she said stemmed from the pressures of her career. Girls' Generation's Taeyeon and soloist Hwana have both discussed their battles with depression, and I know BTS's Suga has been open about his own struggles, noting idols feel like they can't make mistakes. For some, the pressure becomes unbearable. I think many of us remember the tragic deaths of SHINee's Jonghyun in 2017 and singer-actress Sully in 2019, which are heartbreaking reminders of this system's consequences. I read Jonghyun's final letter, where he wrote about being broken from the inside and consumed by depression. Sully had been a target of vicious cyberbullying for years. Their deaths sparked a painful but necessary conversation about mental health in Korea, where I know seeking help is still often seen as a weakness. This suffering feels to me like a byproduct of the system itself. The constant surveillance and lack of privacy create a perfect storm for mental health crises. While I've seen companies like HYBE say they offer counseling, I've also heard that many idols hesitate to use it, fearing it could hurt their careers. It feels like a system that demands perfection, but offers precious little support when its stars start to crack under that pressure. And all of this brings me right back to KATSEYE. They are a multinational group based in Los Angeles, but they were forged using the K-pop development model. As I mentioned, they've achieved what looks like historic success, charting on Billboard, completing a North American tour, and earning 2 Grammy nominations, including for the coveted Best New Artist Award. On the surface, I can see their future couldn't be brighter, but I also see that their success is happening inside this deeply flawed and demanding system. The NewJeans case shows me just how brutally HYBE is willing to enforce its contracts when challenged. The long history of idol mistreatment and mental health crises shows the human toll of the industry's chase for perfection. KATSEYE may be a global group, but they are still bound by the rules of the K-pop empire that co-created them. Their contract, which I assume is a multi-year deal with Geffen Records and HYBE, ties them to this powerful machine. It feels like they're walking a path paved with both gold and broken glass. Their talent is undeniable, but I can't ignore the risks. As I watch them and celebrate their success, I feel I have to stay aware of the structure that holds them up. And it forces me to ask a difficult question. As a fan, as a consumer of this global phenomenon, how much should I demand transparency and reform to protect the very artists I admire?